You know, we throw around the word church all the time, right? But what if I told you the story behind that word is way bigger and honestly way more cosmic than you probably imagine? We're going to dig into how this simple idea of church connects all the way back to a heavenly council and a powerful assembly in the middle of a desert.
So let me just start with a question. Most of us, when we hear church, we picture a building, maybe a Sunday service. But what if its original meaning was something so much more active, so much more powerful than just a get-together?
Yeah, what if being the church actually meant you're part of a council with a real, cosmic job description, a group that actively participates in the governance of the heavens and the earth? Now that is the big idea we're unpacking today, and believe me, it has the power to change how you see everything about the church's purpose.
All right, so to really get this, we've got to start where the Bible itself starts, not down here on earth, but up in the unseen realm, with this idea of heaven's governing council.
So, deep in the Old Testament, you find this concept called the divine council. The easiest way to think of it is like God's heavenly throne room, and it's filled with divine beings. You know, angels, holy ones. But here's the key. They are not just spectators. They are an active assembly, a court that discusses, worships, and then goes out and executes God's plans.
And look, this isn't some made-up idea. It's right there in the scriptures. Psalm 82 gives us this incredible picture of God actually presiding over his council, making judgments. This sets up a foundational pattern for us. God rules with and through a council.
Now this is where it gets super interesting. What does this council actually do? Well, sure, there's praise and worship, absolutely. But they also deliberate. They actually discuss heavenly matters. In 1 Kings 22, we even see them weighing proposals. And crucially, they're the ones who carry out God's divine decrees here on earth. This is a working government, not just a heavenly choir.
Okay, so if that's the blueprint up in heaven, where do we see it pop up on earth for the first time? Well, the whole story kicks off at a mountain in the desert.
When God gathers the people of Israel at Mount Sinai, it was so much more than just a big camp meeting. The Hebrew word for it is qāhāl. It means an assembly that has been summoned by the very voice of God. And this whole event was intentionally designed to be an earthly mirror, a physical reflection of that heavenly council we just talked about.
And check this out. This slide just lays it out perfectly. The Bible talks about the heavenly qāhāl qedoshim, which is the assembly of the holy ones. Then, down on earth, at Sinai, God creates the qāhāl Yahweh, the assembly of Yahweh. You see what's happening there? It's a direct, deliberate parallel. One is the blueprint, the other is the earthly copy. And if you thought that was cool, it gets even more direct. Deuteronomy tells us that when God came down on that mountain, he didn't come alone. He showed up with 10,000s of holy ones. So picture this. It wasn't just people down below. It was a joint session. Heaven and earth, council to council, meeting right there.
Okay, so we've got this awesome, heavy-duty concept of the qāhāl in the Old Testament. But how in the world do we get from that to the word church that we use today? Well, the bridge is all in one super important word choice.
All right, follow the breadcrumbs here. The original Hebrew word, remember, is qāhāl. Now fast forward a few hundred years, and the Hebrew scriptures get translated into Greek. The translators chose the Greek word ekklesia. So when Jesus shows up in the New Testament and says, "I will build my ekklesia," he's not just pulling a word out of thin air. He is intentionally grabbing this specific word, a word that carries all the history and all the weight of Sinai and the heavenly council.
And you got to understand, this wasn't just some random, oh, this word will do kind of translation. No way. This was a profound theological statement. The early followers of Jesus were basically declaring that his church, his ekklesia, is the true continuation and fulfillment of Israel's qāhāl. It's God's assembly, reconstituted for a brand new era. So if the church is the new ekklesia, and it's inheriting this incredible legacy of the qāhāl, then its purpose has to be about more than just a Sunday morning service, right? It means it has a cosmic role to play.
Okay, get ready, because this verse from Ephesians is an absolute game changer. It says that it's through the church that God's wisdom gets announced to the rulers and authorities in the heavenly realms. Let that sink in. The church isn't just getting messages from heaven. It's a living, breathing demonstration to heaven. Its very existence is a proclamation to the divine council.
And it doesn't stop there. The book of Hebrews says that when we gather to worship, we're not just in a building here on earth. It says we have come to the heavenly Mount Zion, joining that heavenly ekklesia of angels and saints.
So our worship, right here, right now, is us participating in the throne room of the cosmos. How cool is that?
So what does this cosmic job actually look like on the ground? Well, the church has real judicial authority. Its decisions on binding and loosing are literally ratified in heaven. Its worship, as we saw, is a joint session with the angels. When the word is taught authentically, it's like a decree from the council is being delivered on earth. And even just the church's unified life is a powerful witness to those unseen powers. This is an active governing body.
But wait, the story doesn't even stop there. It doesn't end with the church just being a mirror of the heavenly council. The final goal, honestly, it's even more staggering.
The whole point, the end game, is for God's people to go from being the earthly reflection of the council to being full-on members of it. We're talking about taking our seats in the government of the entire universe.
I mean, just listen to what Paul asks the Corinthians. It's one of those rhetorical questions where he's like, come on, you guys know this, right? He just assumes they know that their future involves judging the world and, get this, even judging angels. That is the language of council participation, of ultimate authority being restored to humanity through Jesus.
Okay, so this table right here just ties a perfect bow on the whole thing. Just take a second and look at the parallels. In the Old Testament, Yahweh is present in fire on Sinai. In the New, Christ is in the midst. Both the qāhāl and the ekklesia have a heavenly counterpart. They both exercise judicial authority, and they both share this cosmic mission that ends with God's people reigning with him. You see, it's one big epic story unfolding from the very beginning.
So we end right back where we started, with a question. If this is the real secret identity of the church, not just a social club but an earthly council participating in heavenly rule, how does that change what you and I think we're doing when we gather? How does it change our view of worship, our view of community, and our ultimate purpose in the cosmos? Something to think about.